Rain fell hard on the city every night. Cold water ran through the narrow streets, down the stone walls, and into the broken drains. Shadows of tall towers stretched long, covering the small alleys where the poor and the forgotten tried to survive. And on one doorstep, always the same doorstep, a girl slept. She was not like the others. Her skin carried a strange glow under the rain, soft and pale yet marked with faint silver lines. Her eyes were too bright, too sharp, not human at all. Her hair was long and tangled, shining faintly under the neon lights of the street. Anyone who saw her knew at once. She was alien, but no one cared. People passed by in silence. Some looked away, some looked with hate, and some muttered under their breath that she did not belong. Yet she stayed, curled against the wooden door of an old building, her body weak, her clothes torn, her heart heavy. Night after night she lay there, and night after night no one asked her name. Sometimes she dreamed of her home world. She saw tall crystal towers and wide oceans of light. She heard voices of her people, laughter, songs, the sound of wings in the air. But each time she woke, there was only the cold rain and the rough stone under her cheek. Her world was gone, burned in the war, and she was the last one left. Alone, always alone. The city hated outsiders. The humans had won the war, and they did not want reminders of what they destroyed. To them, she was a ghost of a defeated race, a burden, a danger, maybe even a curse. So they ignored her, left her to the rain, and still, she waited, though she did not know what for. One night, the storm was stronger than ever. Thunder rolled over the city like the growl of some giant beast. The rain fell so heavy that even the stone steps felt alive with the sound of water. The girl pressed herself against the door, trembling, her hair sticking to her face, her lips blue from the cold. She thought, maybe this is the night I die. Maybe it is better than waiting for a kindness that will never come. But then, footsteps stopped. A shadow stretched across her small body, blocking the neon glow. She looked up, heart beating fast. A man stood there, tall, wearing a dark coat heavy with rain, his eyes fixed on her. He did not walk past. He did not turn away. He only looked, and in his eyes there was something she had not seen in years. Curiosity, maybe, or pity, or something deeper. The girl tried to move, to crawl away, but her strength was gone. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Go away." But he did not. Instead, he crouched down, close enough for her to see the lines of his tired face, close enough for her to see the warmth in his eyes. He spoke, his voice low but clear through the storm. "Why are you here?" The question cut through her like a blade. Why was she here? Why had she not left, run, disappeared into the shadows like the others of her kind? She did not know. Maybe because her heart still hoped, even after all the pain, that one day someone would open the door. She lowered her head, unable to answer, tears mixed with the rain on her face. The man watched her for a long moment, then his hand reached for the handle of the door behind her. With a soft creak, the door opened, warm light spilling into the wet alley. The girl's eyes widened, her breath caught. She had never seen the inside, never imagined what was beyond the wood she had leaned on for so long. The man looked at her once more, and his voice was steady, stronger this time. "Come inside," he said. The words struck her harder than the thunder above. No one had ever spoken them to her before. Her body froze, her mind screamed not to trust, not to believe, but her heart burned with sudden fire. She wanted to stand, to walk through that door, but her legs would not move. The man reached out his hand, waiting, patient, and then he added the words that changed everything. "Come inside. Forever." The rain still fell, the thunder still shook the sky, but in that moment, the world around her disappeared. All she saw was the hand, the open door, the light, and for the first time since her world was destroyed, she felt something more powerful than fear, hope. The girl stepped into the house slowly. Her bare feet left wet marks on the wooden floor. Warm air touched her skin, and she felt a strange pain in her chest, the pain of remembering comfort she thought was gone forever. Behind her, the man closed the door, and the sound of the storm outside grew quiet. For the first time in years, she was not lying on the cold stone. She was inside. The room was small, but alive with light. Strange machines hummed softly, glowing with blue and gold. A fire burned in the corner, filling the air with warmth. The smell of food, real food, drifted from deeper inside. Her stomach tightened, and she held her arms close to hide her hunger. The man walked past her without a word. He moved with calm steps, as if bringing an alien into his home was not strange at all. He took off his wet coat, hung it on a metal hook, and finally looked at her again. "You're safe here," he said. But safety was a word she no longer trusted. She stayed near the door, her back still pressed against the wood. Her eyes scanned every corner, searching for danger. Humans had destroyed her world, burned her people, and hunted her like prey. Why would this one man be different? Her heart whispered hope, but her mind screamed caution. The man noticed her fear. He pulled out a chair and pointed to it. "Sit," he said, his voice steady. The girl hesitated, her body shaking, but at last she moved forward and sat down. The chair felt too soft, too safe, like it belonged to another life. She kept her eyes on him, waiting for the trap. He placed a bowl of warm soup in front of her. The smell rose into her nose, rich and heavy. Her hands shook as she held the spoon. The first taste burned her tongue, but it filled her body with a heat she had forgotten. Tears ran down her cheeks, silent, unwanted. She ate quickly, afraid the food would vanish if she slowed. The man watched but did not stop her. When the bowl was empty, he asked quietly, "How long have you been out there?" The girl lowered her eyes, her voice a whisper. "Since the war." The man did not speak for a long time, his jaw tight, his eyes shadowed. At last, he said, "No one should suffer like that." The words cut deep. She wanted to believe them, but her heart was torn. Humans had no mercy when they killed her family, her people, her world. Why should she believe one man's kindness? She pushed the bowl away, stood, and said sharply, "What do you want from me?" The man did not move. He only looked at her, his face unreadable. "I want nothing," he said. "You need shelter, food, and rest, that's all." His words were simple, but she could not accept them. No human gave without a price, no human helped without reason. That night, she lay on a small bed he had given her. The blanket was soft, the pillow smelled of soap, but sleep did not come. Every sound in the house made her eyes snap open. She heard him moving in another room, the creak of the floor, the faint hum of his strange device, and then she heard his voice, low and secret. "She's here now," he whispered into the machine. "They must not find out." Her heart froze. She pressed her ear to the thin wall, straining to hear. Who was he talking to? Who must not find out? Her breath shook, her body tense. Had she walked into another trap? Was this house a prison dray? Said in warmth, the man's voice continued, steady but heavy. "She's weak but strong enough to survive. I'll keep her hidden until the time is right." The girl's mind spun with fear. Hidden, until the time is right. What did it mean? Her chest ached with betrayal, though he had never promised anything. She wanted to run, to break the door and escape back into the storm. But outside, soldiers still searched the streets, and hunger still waited in the dark. She lay back on the bed, eyes wide. The firelight flickered on the walls, shadows rising and falling like ghosts. Every heartbeat was a question, every breath a warning. Was this man her savior, or her enemy? Was this house her shelter, or her cage? She did not know. And yet, as the night grew deeper, one truth burned inside her. Her fate was no longer only her own. She was tied now to the human who opened the door. And tomorrow, she would have to decide whether to trust him or to run forever. The house was quiet, but her heart was not. The alien girl lay still on the soft bed, staring at the ceiling. Her eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the dark. She could not forget the man's secret words, whispered into the machine. "She's here now, but they must not find out." Every sound in the house became a warning, the creak of the wooden floor, the hum of the fire, the drip of rain against the glass. She listened like prey in the night, waiting for the hunter to strike. Was he the same as the others, the humans who destroyed her world? Or was there something different in him, something she had never seen before? She turned on her side, the blanket sliding down. The room felt too safe, too gentle, like a trap covered in flowers. She wanted to believe in safety, but her scars told her never to trust. Her people had trusted once, and they were gone, burned into ash and silence. Now she was alone, and trust was more dangerous than hunger. At midnight, she rose, her feet touching the floor without sound. She moved to the door of her room and opened it just a crack. The HFY hallway was dim, lit only by the dying fire. Shadows stretched long across the walls. The man's voice reached her again, low and steady, speaking into the device. "They will search the district tomorrow. I'll keep her hidden. I won't let them take her." Her breath caught, her hand gripping the doorframe. He was protecting her, not betraying her. Or was it a lie, words spoken for someone else's ears? She closed her eyes, torn between fear and hope. No answer came, only the silence of the house. She moved back to the bed, but sleep would not come. Instead, memories filled her, sharp and heavy. She saw her home world again, Bright skies lit by twin suns. She saw her mother's face, gentle and kind. She saw soldiers marching, fire falling from the sky, the screams of her people as the ground shook, and then she saw only darkness. A sound broke her thoughts. Footsteps, slow and heavy, moving toward her room. Her chest tightened, every muscle ready to run. The door opened a little wider, and the man stood there, a shadow in the faint light. "You're awake," he said softly. She did not answer. His eyes searched hers, but he did not come closer. "You don't have to be afraid," he whispered. Then he left, closing the door behind him. The girl sat on the bed, her hands trembling. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Not with anger, not with pity, but with something different, something she could not name. But could she believe it? Morning came with pale light pushing through the window. The storm had passed, but the city outside still looked gray and broken. The man placed food on the table again, warm bread and fruit. She ate slowly this time, her eyes never leaving him. Finally she asked, her voice low but sharp, "Why did you open the door? Why me?" He did not answer at once. He poured water into a glass, set it down, and looked at her. "Because you remind me of something I lost," he said. Her eyes narrowed, her hands tight around the bread. "What did you lose?" she asked. His face hardened, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then, quietly, he answered, "A family." The words fell heavy between them. The girl lowered her gaze. She had lost the same, lost everything. For the first time, silence between them did not feel like a wall. It felt like a bridge, fragile but real. But danger was near. That evening, as the sun set, voices rose in the street. Soldiers walked past in groups, shouting, knocking on doors, searching. The girl froze, her body shaking. The man pushed her toward a hidden trapdoor at the back of the room. "Go," he whispered firmly. She slid down into darkness, the smell of earth and stone filling her nose. Above her, she heard heavy fists pound on the front door. Her heart raced as she crouched in the shadows. She heard the soldiers speak, their words sharp and cruel. "We know she's here, an alien girl, bring her out." The man's voice answered, steady and cold. "You'll find nothing here." The soldiers pushed inside, their boots stomping, their hands searching every corner. The girl held her breath, afraid even the sound of her heartbeat would betray her. Minutes felt like hours. At last, the door slammed shut, and silence returned. The trapdoor opened, and the man reached down his hand. "They're gone," he said. Her body shook as she climbed out, her eyes filled with fear. "They will come again," she whispered. He nodded, his face hard. "Yes, but I won't let them take you." She stared at him, trying to read his soul. Maybe he was lying, maybe he was only delaying the end. But in that moment she wanted to believe, and belief was more dangerous than any soldier. The knock came at dawn. It was not soft, not polite, but heavy, loud, shaking the wooden door on its hinges. The girl woke with a gasp, her body still weak from restless sleep. Her eyes met the man's, and in his face she saw the truth. The soldiers had returned. Outside, boots scraped the stone street, voices shouted orders, metal clashed against metal. They were not only searching, they were hunting. Her chest tightened, her breath shallow. "They found me," she whispered. The man pressed his finger to his lips, silencing her. The door shook again, harder. "Open up," a soldier roared. The man moved quickly, pulling her toward the trapdoor once more. "Down now," he ordered, his voice low and firm. She hesitated, her body trembling, but his eyes burned with urgency. She slipped into the darkness below, the wooden cover closing above her head. The basement air was thick, damp, filled with the smell of stone and dust. She crouched low, pressing her ear against the wood. Above her, the door to the house burst open with a crash. Boots stomped across the floor, voices sharp and cruel. "We know she's here," one barked. "Search every corner," another commanded. Her heart pounded. She heard furniture being thrown aside, metal scraping against wood. The man's voice rose, angry but steady. "You break into homes without reason. What are you looking for?" Laughter followed, cold and harsh. "You know who? Alien filth doesn't belong in this city." The girl clenched her fists, her body shaking. She wanted to scream, to fight, but she stayed silent. Minutes passed like hours. Then a voice spoke, closer, heavier. "She was seen near here. If you're hiding her, you'll pay with your life." The man answered with ice in his tone. "You'll find nothing here." The soldiers cursed, overturned the table, slammed against walls, but after a long moment their voices began to fade. Their boots echoed out the door, back in. To the street, the house grew silent again. The trapdoor opened. Light spilled into the basement. The man reached down and pulled her up, his hands steady but his face tense. "They will return," he said, his voice low. Her knees trembled as she stood. "Why risk yourself?" she asked, her voice breaking. "They will kill you too." He looked at her with tired eyes. "Because someone must stand against them," he said simply. "Because you deserve more than the cold streets." The girl could not answer, her throat tight. In his eyes, she saw something strange, something she had not known from humans before. Not pity, not hatred, but choice. He had chosen to protect her, even at the cost of his own life, but the danger was not gone. That evening, when the sun bled red over the rooftops, soldiers filled the district again. This time, their search was harsher, louder, closer. Torches lit the streets, voices rose in anger. They were not hunting shadows anymore. They were hunting her. The man grabbed a small pack from the shelf. "We can't stay," he said. Her heart sank. "Where will we go?" she whispered. "Somewhere they won't look," he replied, pulling her toward the back door. They slipped into the alley, the night air cool but heavy with danger. The girl kept close, her steps light, her breath shallow. Every shadow felt like a soldier's hand, every echo like a warning. The city was alive with noise, soldiers shouting, doors slamming, glass breaking. Somewhere nearby, a woman cried out as soldiers tore through her home. The girl flinched, but the man kept moving, his grip firm on her wrist. They turned corner after corner, the narrow alleys twisting like a maze. Behind them, voices rose, closer now. "Search every street. They won't escape." The girl's chest burned with fear, her legs weak. "We can't outrun them," she whispered. The man's eyes flashed. "Then we outsmart them." He pulled her into a broken building. A roof half collapsed, walls covered in dust. They crouched in the shadows, waiting. Through the cracks in the wall, she saw soldiers march past, their armor gleaming in the firelight. Her body trembled, but the man placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Breathe," he whispered. She tried, though every breath felt like fire. For a moment, silence returned. Then, suddenly, a soldier turned his head, eyes narrowing toward the broken wall. The girl froze. The soldier stepped closer, his boots crunching on the stone. Her heart screamed. He would see them. He would call the others. The man's hand tightened around a heavy pipe on the floor, ready to strike. But just as the soldier reached the wall, another voice called, "Over here! Tracks!" The soldier cursed, turned, and ran toward the voice. Their hiding place was safe, for now. The girl collapsed against the wall, shaking with relief. The man looked at her, his jaw tight. "This is only the beginning," he said. "They won't stop until they have you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then why not leave me?" she asked, her voice breaking. He shook his head slowly. "Because you are not alone anymore." The words burned in her chest. For the first time, she felt the weight of something she thought she had lost forever. Not just fear, not just survival, but hope, fragile, dangerous, but alive. The night was long, and the city outside burned with unrest. Fires glowed in distant streets. Voices rose like angry waves. Soldiers marched with heavy boots. But inside the broken building where the man and the alien girl hid, there was only silence. Silence, and the sound of two hearts beating fast in the dark. She sat against the wall, knees pulled to her chest, her hair damp with sweat and rain. The man crouched near the doorway, his eyes fixed on the street outside. Every few minutes he checked for soldiers, his body tense, ready to move. At last, when the street grew quiet again, he returned to her side. "They're gone, for now," he whispered, her eyes lifted to his, shining in the faint moonlight. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. "Why do you risk your life for me?" The man leaned back against the wall, his face shadowed. For a moment he did not answer. Then he spoke, his voice low and heavy. "Because once someone did the same for me." Her brow furrowed, confusion mixing with fear. "What do you mean?" she asked. He looked down at his hands, scarred and rough. "Years ago, when the war burned across the stars, my family was caught in the fire," he said. "Humans were losing then, and we were desperate, trapped, waiting for death." His voice grew tight, but steady. "An alien soldier found us. He could have killed us, he should have, but instead he let us go. He told us to run. He risked his own people's anger to save strangers." The girl's chest tightened as she listened. "What happened to him?" she whispered. The man's eyes darkened. "He was killed for it." Silence filled the space between them. The girl's heart pounded with the weight of his words. A human who had been saved by one of her kind, a debt carried through the years, now returned to her, the last of her people. "But I am not him," she said quietly. Her voice cracked. Broken by doubt. "I am no hero. I am only what is left." The man turned to her, his eyes fierce. "You are alive. That is enough." For a long moment, neither spoke. The city outside groaned under the boots of soldiers, the sky lit with flames, but inside, something small and fragile had begun to grow. Not safety, not yet, but trust. Thin as glass, but strong enough to hold them together. The girl lowered her head, her hands trembling. "All my life since the war, I waited for someone to open the door," she whispered. "I thought it would never happen. I thought I would die on the stone steps, forgotten." Her eyes lifted to his again, tears shining. "But you opened it." The man's jaw tightened, his face hard, but his voice soft. "Then stay inside, no matter what comes." She nodded, though fear still twisted inside her. Her trust was fragile, but it was there. That night, when the soldiers marched again, when shouts echoed through the streets, she did not run. She stayed close to him because for the first time, she believed he would not leave her. Later, in the deep hours of night, they hid in the basement again. The space was dark and cold, but his presence made it bearable. The girl broke the silence, her voice small. "Do you think they will ever stop hunting me?" The man shook his head slowly. "No, not until they are forced to." Her lips pressed together, her body trembling. "Then I will only bring death to you," she whispered. His hand brushed hers, firm and steady. "Better to face death together than live empty lives alone." The words stunned her. She stared at him, her chest burning with something she could not name. It was not fear, not hunger, not sorrow. It was something warmer, heavier, alive. She pulled her hand back, but her heart did not let go. Above them, the sound of soldiers grew faint. At last, silence returned. The man leaned against the wall, his eyes closing, his body weary. The girl watched him in the flickering light of a candle. She studied the lines of his face, the strength in his jaw, the scars of old battles. This was no ordinary human. This was someone who carried the weight of both war and kindness. Her eyes softened, and for the first time in years, she felt safe enough to close them. Sleep came, not empty and cold, but deep and warm. She dreamed not of fire or screams, but of doors opening, of voices calling her home. And when she woke, she found the man still there, awake, watching the street, keeping guard. She realized then what her heart already knew. She was not alone anymore, not on the steps, not in the dark, not in the shadow of soldiers. As long as he stood with her, she could believe in something greater than fear. She could believe in tomorrow. The city did not rest. Even when night fell and the streets grew dark, the soldiers marched, their torches glowing like angry eyes. The man and the alien girl stayed hidden in the broken house, but both knew it could not last. The noose was tightening, every day closer, every step heavier. That night, while the man searched the shadows outside, the girl sat alone in the basement. The candle burned low, its light flickering against the stone walls. Her thoughts twisted like knives. She wanted to trust him. She wanted to believe he was different. But the war had taught her only one lesson. Trust kills. Suddenly, a faint sound broke the silence. The device in the corner, the one the man used to speak secretly, lit with a dim red glow. Her heart jumped. A voice came through, broken but clear. "Alien girl, we know where you are," the voice whispered. Her blood froze, her breath caught. "We will let you live, if you give him to us." The word was echoed inside her. Her hands shook, her eyes fixed on the glowing device. Was it real or a trick? Her mind raced. If she betrayed him, she might survive. If she gave him up, the soldiers would spare her. Was this salvation or another lie? The man returned then, his footsteps steady above. She quickly moved away from the device, her chest tight with fear. When he came down the stairs, his eyes searched her face. "You heard something," he said, his voice sharp. She looked away, her lips trembling. "No," she whispered, but the lie felt heavy on her tongue. He watched her for a long moment, his eyes narrow, but he did not press. Instead, he sat across from her, his body weary, his voice low. "They will offer you lies," he said. "They will tell you to betray me. They will promise safety, but there is no safety with them." Her head snapped up, shock flashing in her eyes. "How do you know?" she whispered. "Because I know how they think," he answered, his jaw tight. "I was one of them once." Her heart stopped. The man's face was calm, but his words cut through her like fire. "You were a soldier?" she whispered. He nodded slowly, his eyes heavy with shadows. "I fought in the war. I carried orders. I saw what we did to your people." Her breath came sharp and fast. Rage and fear surged inside her. "You killed them," she hissed. Her body shook, her hands curling into fists. "You killed my world." The man did not flinch. His eyes stayed on her, steady, burning. "Yes," he said quietly, "and I carry that weight every day." Her tears burned hot against her cheeks, her voice breaking. "Then why help me now?" He leaned forward, his face close to hers. "Because it was wrong," he whispered. "Because saving you is the only way I can fight the sins of my past." Her heart tore between fury and sorrow. Part of her wanted to strike him, to scream, to run. But another part, deep and fragile, wanted to believe. For hours, silence filled the basement, broken only by the crackle of the candle flame. Two souls bound by war, torn by loss, yet held together by something neither could explain. The next morning, soldiers filled the street again. The man pressed his ear to the wall, listening. "They're closer," he said, his voice firm. The girl swallowed hard, her mind still caught between betrayal and trust. The memory of the device's whisper haunted her. "We will let you live, if you give him to us." Her chest ached with the weight of choice. She could step into the street, call out his name, hand him to the soldiers, and save herself, or she could stay, stand with him, and face death together. Her breath shook, her heart screamed for an answer. At last she looked at him, her voice trembling. "If I follow you, we will both die." He met her gaze, steady and unbroken. "Maybe," he said, "but if you betray me, you will lose more than life." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" she asked. He leaned closer, his voice heavy with truth. "You will lose yourself." The words struck her deeper than any weapon. She lowered her head, tears spilling. For so long she had been alone, hunted, broken. Now, in this ruined house, she realized her life was no longer hers alone. It was tied to him, to his choice, to his redemption, and to her own. Outside, soldiers shouted, closing in. The man grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the back door. "We move now," he said. Her legs trembled, but she followed. Together they slipped into the alley, running through the shadows, behind the chana. Boots thundered, voices rose, torches burned. The chase had begun again. But this time, she did not wonder if she would betray him. She knew her answer. The city burned. Flames rose high into the night sky. Smoke curled like black rivers, and the sound of soldiers echoed through the streets. The man and the alien girl ran through narrow alleys, their steps quick, their breaths heavy. Behind them, voices roared, torches blazed, and boots thundered closer. There was no more hiding, no more waiting. This was the end. They burst into an open square, the stones wet with rain, the air sharp with the smell of fire. Soldiers spilled into the space from every side, their armor glinting, their weapons raised. The girl froze, her chest tight, her eyes wide with fear. The man pulled her close, his body shielding hers. "There is no way out," she whispered, her voice breaking. "There is always a way," he said, his voice steady. The soldiers shouted, circling them. "Give her up," their leader barked. "She belongs to no one. She will die tonight." The girl trembled, her heart racing. She could see her death in their eyes, sharp and cold. But before she could speak, the man stepped forward. His voice cut through the air like steel. "No," he said. "She belongs with me." The soldiers laughed, cruel and hollow. "You protect alien trash?" one spat. The man's eyes burned with fire. "She is not trash," he said. "She is life, she is hope, and I will not let you take her." The circle tightened, weapons raised. The girl gripped his hand, her voice trembling. "They will kill you." He looked at her, his eyes steady. "Then I will die standing for something true." The first soldier lunged, blade flashing in the firelight. The man swung a broken pipe, striking hard. The soldier fell, chaos erupted, steel clashing, voices shouting, fire burning brighter. The girl ducked behind him, but when another soldier came close, she felt something awaken inside her. Her skin glowed faint silver. Her eyes shone brighter than fire. She raised her hand and for a moment, light burst out, sharp and fierce. The soldier staggered back, blinded. The man looked at her in shock. "You still carry their power," he whispered. "I thought it was gone," she said, her voice shaking. "Then use it," he urged. The battle raged. Together they fought. Human strength and alien light side by side. Each strike, each burst of power, each desperate step brought them closer. But the soldiers were many, endless. For every one that fell, two more appeared. The girl's body grew weak. Her light flickered, her breath ragged. "I can't," she whispered. "You can," the man said firmly, his hand gripping hers, "because you are not alone." The soldiers hesitated then, fear in their eyes, not because of the girl's power, but because of the sight before them, a human and an alien fighting together, bound not by war but by choice. It was something they had never seen, something greater than fear. At last, the leader stepped forward, his blade sharp, his voice cold. "End this," he growled. He charged faster, stronger than the others. The man stepped in front of the girl, ready to take the strike, but the girl pushed forward, light exploding from her body. The square lit like the sun, blinding, burning, unstoppable. The leader screamed, his weapon shattering, his body thrown to the ground. Silence fell. The soldiers froze, their eyes wide with fear. None dared move, none dared strike again. The girl swayed, her light fading, her body weak. The man caught her before she fell, his arms strong, his voice gentle. "It's over," he whispered. She looked at him, her voice faint. "They will come again." He nodded, his face calm. "Then we will face them, together." The soldiers backed away, dragging their leader with them. The square emptied, leaving only smoke, fire, and silence. The man held the girl close, her head resting against his chest. Her voice trembled. Why? Why do you keep me?" He looked down at her, his eyes soft but fierce. "Because you were left alone too long," he said. "Because you waited for a door to open, and I was the one who opened it." She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. "And if I fail you," she whispered. He shook his head, his voice steady. "You will not fail me, because you are mine now, and I am yours." The city burned, but in the center of the square, two figures stood against the fire, not human, not alien, but something greater, something that could not be broken by war or hate. The man lifted her gently, carrying her away from the ashes. His voice echoed in her ears, soft and unshakable. "Come inside," he whispered. "Come inside, forever."